What if the key to becoming irresistibly attractive wasn't in what you say, but in the unspoken strength you embody? Today, we'll uncover 15 subtle yet powerful habits that can elevate your presence and magnetism without uttering a single word. Number 1. Maintaining calmness under pressure. Maintaining calmness under pressure isn't just a skill, it's an art. It's like having an inner stillness that no storm can shake. Picture this: you're in the middle of chaos, things are spiraling out of control, and everyone around you is losing their cool. But there you are, grounded, composed, almost like you're in a different world. That kind of calm is magnetic. It draws people in, not just because it's rare, but because it represents strength. When you can keep your head when others are losing theirs, it says something powerful about you. Now, let's dive into what this calmness really means. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending that nothing affects you. That's just bottling up tension, and we all know that doesn't end well. Instead, it's about finding a way to stay centered, to anchor yourself in the middle of a storm. It's about knowing that, no matter what happens, you have the tools to navigate through it without being swept away by the waves. But how do you cultivate this kind of calmness? It's like building a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets. Maybe it starts with small things, taking a deep breath when you feel your pulse quicken, or stepping back for a moment when you feel the pressure rising. Over time, these small actions add up. They become habits, and these habits become a part of who you are. This kind of calmness is attractive because it's contagious. People are drawn to those who exude a sense of peace, especially when things get tough. It's like they see a rock in a stormy sea, and they naturally want to be near it, hoping that some of that stability will rub off on them. But there's more to it. Calmness under pressure shows that you're not easily rattled, that you can handle whatever life throws your way without losing your sense of self. It's a subtle form of confidence, one that doesn't need to shout or show off. It just is. And let's talk about how this calmness affects your interactions with others. When you're calm under pressure, you're able to listen more clearly, to think more critically, and to respond more thoughtfully. You're not reacting out of fear or anger or stress. You're choosing your responses with intention. This not only helps in making better decisions but also in maintaining healthier relationships. People respect those who can stay composed, who don't let their emotions dictate their actions. It's also worth noting that this calmness isn't something you just turn on when things get rough. It's a way of being, a mindset that you cultivate over time. It's about learning to find that stillness even in the quiet moments, so when the storm hits, you're already prepared. It's like having a well that you've been filling up, drop by drop, so that when you need it, it's there, ready to sustain you. So, in the end, maintaining calmness under pressure is about more than just looking cool in a crisis. It's about developing a deeper sense of self-awareness and control. It's about being the eye of the storm, the place where peace resides, no matter how wild the world around you gets. And that, in itself, is incredibly attractive. It's a quality that doesn't just make you stand out, it makes you someone others look up to, someone they trust, and someone they want to be around. Number 2, showing empathy through actions. When it comes to showing empathy, words can sometimes feel empty or even inadequate. That's where actions step in, painting a picture of understanding and compassion that speaks louder than any words ever could. There's something incredibly powerful about a gesture that isn't accompanied by a verbal cue, something that transcends language altogether. It's like you're saying, "I see you, I feel you," without actually saying it. It's a connection that's almost primal, rooted in our shared humanity. Think about how often we get caught up in our own heads, focusing on what we're going to say next or how we're going to respond. But when you shift that focus, when you let go of the need to speak, you open up space for something more profound. You start to notice the little things, the way someone's shoulders slump, the slight tremble in their hands, the weariness in their eyes. These are the cues that guide you in showing empathy through your actions. Maybe it's offering a helping hand when someone seems overwhelmed, or maybe it's just being there, fully present, when someone needs support. These acts don't need to be grand or showy. In fact, the most powerful displays of empathy are often the simplest. It's in those small, almost unnoticed moments that you communicate your understanding and care. And here's the thing, people pick up on that. They feel it. When you show empathy through your actions, you're not just performing a task, you're creating a bond, building trust. It's like you're telling the other person, "You matter," without uttering a single word. That's attractive in a way that's hard to put into words. It's a quiet, confident sort of attractiveness, one that doesn't need to boast or draw attention to itself. In this fast-paced world, where everyone is rushing to get their point across, taking the time to simply act, without the need to explain or justify, can be a game changer. It's a reminder that you don't need to fill the silence with empty words. Sometimes, the silence itself is where the real connection happens. It's where empathy is felt, not heard. Empathy in action is also deeply rooted in Stoic principles. Stoicism teaches us to be mindful of our actions, to act with purpose and intention. When you apply this to empathy, you're not just reacting to someone else's emotions, you're consciously choosing to engage in a way that supports and uplifts them. It's about being there, not just in body but in spirit, too. It's about understanding that sometimes, the best way to show you care is to act rather than speak. This approach to empathy is subtle, but it's powerful. It's the kind of thing that doesn't need to be acknowledged because it's felt on a deeper level. The other person might not even realize why they feel closer to you, why they trust you more. But they do. And that's the magic of showing empathy through actions. It's a silent conversation that says everything without saying anything at all. So, next time you're in a situation where words feel like they might fall short, try letting your actions do the talking. Be the steady hand, the calm presence, the quiet support that someone needs. In doing so, you not only embody Stoic principles, but you also become someone who's deeply attractive, not in a flashy or obvious way, but in a way that resonates on a deeper, more meaningful level. Number 3. Exhibiting emotional resilience. Exhibiting emotional resilience is like having a superpower that you don't need to flaunt. It's not about being unshakable or pretending that nothing ever gets to you. Rather, it's the art of bouncing back, of finding your center when life tries to knock you off balance. It's about taking life's punches, rolling with them, and quietly standing up again, stronger and more composed. There's a certain magnetism in that, an unspoken strength that doesn't need validation. Now, let's get one thing clear, emotional resilience doesn't mean you're a robot without feelings. You feel, and sometimes those feelings are intense. But what sets you apart is how you handle them. Instead of letting emotions control your actions or words, you give yourself space to process. You breathe, you reflect, and you decide how to respond. This pause, this moment of clarity, is where your resilience shines. People are drawn to this kind of inner strength because it radiates calm and confidence. In silence, this trait becomes even more powerful. When you're not constantly explaining yourself or reacting to every little thing, you give off an aura of stability. People can sense it. There's a quiet confidence in your ability to weather storms, even if you don't say a word about it. This resilience isn't just about enduring, it's about enduring with grace. It's about letting challenges shape you without breaking you. Imagine walking through a chaotic world, and while everyone else is swept away by the tides of emotion, you stand firm. Not because you're numb, but because you've trained yourself to stay grounded. This is what makes emotional resilience so attractive. It's not flashy, it's not loud, it's a subtle strength that others can't help but notice. When you carry this within you, it shows in how you move, how you interact, and even in the energy you bring into a room. There's also a certain mystery to it. Emotional resilience often goes hand in hand with a kind of quiet self-assurance. You don't need to prove anything, and that can be incredibly compelling. People are curious about those who don't wear their hearts on their sleeves, who don't react impulsively. They wonder what gives you that steady, calm demeanor. And in that curiosity, they're drawn closer to you. In a world where it's easy to get swept up in drama and react to every slight, choosing resilience is like stepping out of the storm and into a place of peace. It's a choice to be mindful, to be deliberate in how you handle your emotions. And this choice, repeated over time, builds an inner fortress. Not an impenetrable one, but one that's strong enough to withstand the winds without crumbling. And let's not forget, there's something incredibly attractive about someone who can face adversity without falling apart. It's not about suppressing your emotions, but rather about mastering them. When others see that you can remain composed under pressure, that you don't let life's ups and downs dictate your mood, they can't help but admire that. It's a form of leadership, even if you never utter a word. In silence, emotional resilience speaks volumes. It says, "I've been through the fire, and I'm still here." It's a quiet confidence that doesn't need to shout to be heard. And in a world that often values loudness and instant reactions, this calm, steady presence is a rare and attractive quality. So, embrace your emotional resilience, nurture it, and let it be the silent strength that draws others to you. Number 4, showing consistent reliability. Showing consistent reliability might not sound like the most glamorous trait, but let's not underestimate its power. Imagine being someone people can count on every single time. That kind of dependability isn't just attractive, it's magnetic. It's like being the person everyone knows will show up, follow through, and do exactly what they said they would. And in a world full of broken promises and half-hearted commitments, that consistency is pure gold. When we talk about reliability, it's more than just being there when you're needed. It's about setting a standard for yourself and living up to it day in and day out. It's like you've drawn a line in the sand, and no matter what happens, you're not crossing it. That level of commitment speaks volumes. It tells people that you're someone they can trust, someone who values their word and backs it up with action. And trust, as we know, is the foundation of any meaningful connection. But let's break this down a bit. Being consistently reliable isn't about being perfect or never making mistakes. It's about showing up with intention. It's about doing your best even when you're not feeling it. It's about being steady, like a heartbeat, reliable in its rhythm. People notice that. They notice when you're the one who always follows through, who doesn't just talk the talk but walks the walk. It's like being a rock, solid, unmovable, dependable. Now, why does this make you more attractive? Well, think about it. In a world where so many things are uncertain, having someone reliable in your corner is incredibly reassuring. It's like having an anchor when everything else is drifting. People are drawn to that. They're drawn to the stability and security that comes with knowing you're not going to flake out or disappear when things get tough. It's a quiet strength, one that doesn't need to shout or make a scene. It just is. Consistency, too, is part of the equation. Anyone can be reliable once or twice, but doing it over and over again? That's what really sets you apart. It shows that your reliability isn't a fluke, it's who you are. And that's where the real attraction lies. People want to be around those who are steady, who aren't going to let them down or leave them hanging. It's a rare quality, and when people find it, they value it deeply. There's also something to be said about the respect that comes with being reliable. When people know they can count on you, they start to see you differently. They start to see you as someone who has integrity, who takes their commitments seriously. And that kind of respect is incredibly attractive. It's not just about being liked, it's about being valued for who you are and what you bring to the table. But, of course, being consistently reliable isn't always easy. It requires effort, dedication, and sometimes a bit of sacrifice. It means doing what you said you'd do, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one's watching. But here's the thing, it's worth it. Because when you show up for others, they show up for you. And that creates a bond, a connection that goes deeper than just surface-level attraction. So, showing consistent reliability isn't just about being dependable. It's about embodying a quality that others can rely on, time and time again. It's about being a person of your word, someone who people can trust without question. And in a world where trust is often in short supply, that makes you stand out. It makes you someone others want to be around, someone they admire, and someone they can count on, no matter what. Number 5, embracing humility. Embracing humility might not be the first thing that comes to mind when you think about what makes someone attractive, but it's one of those qualities that quietly draws people in. There's something incredibly appealing about a person who doesn't need to boast or seek the spotlight, someone who's comfortable in their own skin without needing constant validation. It's like a breath of fresh air in a world full of noise and self-promotion. Let's be clear, humility isn't about putting yourself down or pretending you're less than you are. It's more about having a grounded sense of self, knowing your strengths and weaknesses, and not needing to flaunt either. It's recognizing that you don't have all the answers and being okay with that. This kind of self-awareness is rare, and it's deeply attractive because it shows a level of maturity and inner confidence. It's like you've reached a point where you don't need to prove anything to anyone, and that's powerful. Humility also makes you more approachable. When you're humble, people feel more comfortable around you because they know you're not going to judge them or try to one-up them. It creates a sense of ease in your interactions, making others feel seen and valued for who they are, not for what they can do or how they compare to you. It's like being a safe space, where people can just be themselves without fear of being overshadowed or dismissed. But here's the thing, embracing humility isn't about thinking less of yourself. It's about thinking of yourself less. It's about shifting your focus from constantly worrying about how you're perceived to actually paying attention to the world around you. When you're not caught up in your own ego, you can genuinely listen to others, connect on a deeper level, and build relationships based on mutual respect rather than competition. Another aspect of humility that's often overlooked is the willingness to admit when you're wrong or when you don't know something. This might seem counterintuitive in a world where everyone's trying to be the smartest person in the room, but it's actually a sign of strength. It takes courage to own up to your mistakes or to say, "I don't know," especially when the pressure is on to appear flawless. But in doing so, you show that you're human, that you're learning, and that you're not afraid to grow. And that kind of authenticity is magnetic. Humility also allows you to keep things in perspective. It helps you remember that no matter how much you achieve, there's always more to learn, more ways to improve, and more people who can teach you something valuable. This openness to growth is not only attractive but also essential for personal development. It's like you're on a journey, always evolving, always striving to be better, without getting caught up in the idea that you've already made it. And let's not forget how humility impacts your presence. When you walk into a room with humility, you're not trying to dominate the space. Instead, you're adding to it. You're contributing without taking over, offering your insights without demanding attention. This kind of understated confidence is incredibly appealing because it's real. It's not about putting on a show, it's about being genuine, and people can sense that. So, embracing humility isn't just about being modest or self-effacing. It's about having a quiet confidence that speaks for itself. It's about being secure enough in who you are that you don't need to shout it from the rooftops. And in doing so, you become someone others are naturally drawn to, someone they respect, admire, and want to be around. Number 6, exhibiting genuine confidence. Exhibiting genuine confidence, now that's something that can truly set you apart. But let's get one thing straight. Real confidence isn't about being the loudest person in the room or flaunting your achievements. No, it's something much deeper. It's a quiet assurance, a kind of inner peace that radiates outward. It's knowing who you are and being comfortable with that, flaws and all. And that kind of confidence? It's magnetic. Think about it. When someone is genuinely confident, they don't need to seek validation from others. They're not constantly looking for approval or trying to impress. They just are. It's like they've figured out this secret that so many people are still searching for, that true confidence comes from within. It's not something you can fake, at least not for long. People can sense authenticity, and when you're comfortable in your own skin, it shows. Genuine confidence is about walking into a room and not needing to prove anything. You don't have to puff yourself up or put others down to feel good about yourself. There's no need for that. Instead, you just move through the world with a sense of calm and certainty. It's a quiet kind of strength, one that doesn't need to shout to be heard. And that's exactly what draws people in. They're attracted to that stability, that sense of knowing who you are and being okay with it. But here's the thing, genuine confidence isn't the same as arrogance. There's a fine line between the two, and it all comes down to how you view yourself in relation to others. When you're genuinely confident, you don't see yourself as better than anyone else. You're just comfortable being you. There's no need to compete or compare because you're secure in your own path. And that security? It's incredibly appealing. Another key aspect of genuine confidence is how it affects your interactions with others. When you're truly confident, you're not threatened by other people's success or talents. In fact, you're able to celebrate them without feeling like it takes anything away from you. This kind of confidence allows you to connect with others on a deeper level, without the need for pretense or posturing. You can just be real, and that's what makes your presence so refreshing. This confidence also shows up in how you handle challenges. When things don't go your way, you're not easily shaken. Instead, you take it in stride, knowing that you have the strength to get through it. It's not about being fearless, it's about trusting yourself to face whatever comes your way. And that's a kind of confidence that doesn't just shine in the good times, but in the tough moments too. It's steady, unwavering, and resilient. And let's talk about how this kind of confidence influences your decisions. When you're genuinely confident, you're able to make choices that align with your values and goals, without being swayed by outside opinions. You trust your instincts, and that trust allows you to move forward with conviction. People notice that. They see that you're not easily influenced, that you stand firm in your beliefs. And that firmness? It's attractive because it shows that you know where you're going, and you're not afraid to get there. So, exhibiting genuine confidence isn't about being the center of attention or always having the right answers. It's about having a quiet assurance in who you are and where you're headed. It's about moving through life with a sense of purpose and calm, not needing to prove anything to anyone. And in doing so, you naturally draw people to you, not because you're trying to, but because confidence, real confidence, is something everyone is drawn to. It's a light that shines from within, and it's impossible to ignore. Number 7, practicing active listening. Practicing active listening, now that's a habit that can really set you apart. It's one of those things that sounds simple, but when done right, it's incredibly powerful. You see, everyone likes to feel heard, truly heard. But in a world where everyone is eager to speak, to get their point across, active listening is like a breath of fresh air. It's rare, and that's what makes it so attractive. So, what does it mean to practice active listening? It's not just about hearing the words someone is saying. It's about being fully present in the moment, tuning into the person speaking, and giving them your undivided attention. It's about letting them know that, in that moment, nothing else matters. You're there, with them, fully engaged. And that's a game changer. When you practice active listening, you're not just waiting for your turn to talk. You're actually absorbing what the other person is saying, taking it in, and processing it. You're listening not just to respond, but to understand. And that kind of listening creates a connection, a bond that's hard to find in casual conversations. It's like you're saying, I see you, I hear you, and what you're saying matters to me. That's powerful. Let's talk about what active listening looks like. It's more than just nodding along or throwing in a few ahas to show you're paying attention. It's about engaging with the conversation on a deeper level. You might ask questions, not to interrupt, but to delve deeper into what's being said. You might reflect back what you're hearing, just to make sure you're on the same page. It's these little things that show you're not just hearing the words, but you're really getting the message. And here's the thing, people can tell when you're truly listening. They can feel it. There's something magnetic about being with someone who's fully present, who's not distracted by their phone or their own thoughts. It's like you're giving them a gift, the gift of your attention. And that's something people crave, whether they realize it or not. It makes them feel valued, appreciated, and understood. Active listening also changes the dynamic of a conversation. When you're really listening, you're not just waiting for your turn to speak. You're not formulating your response while the other person is talking. You're there, in the moment, letting the conversation flow naturally. And that creates a sense of ease, a kind of rhythm that's hard to describe but easy to feel. It makes the conversation more meaningful, more genuine. But practicing active listening isn't just about making others feel good. It also has a profound impact on you. When you listen actively, you learn more. You pick up on things you might have missed if you were only half listening. You gain insights, not just into what's being said, but into the person saying it. It's like you're opening yourself up to a deeper understanding of the world around you, one conversation at a time. And let's not forget how practicing active listening builds trust. When people know you're really listening, they're more likely to open up to you, to share their thoughts and feelings. They feel safe, knowing that you're not going to judge them or dismiss what they're saying. That kind of trust is invaluable. It's the foundation of strong relationships, whether they're personal or professional. So, practicing active listening isn't just a skill, it's a way of being. It's about being present, engaged, and genuinely interested in what others have to say. It's about creating connections that go beyond the surface, connections that are real and lasting. And in a world where everyone's talking, being the one who truly listens, that's not just attractive, it's irresistible. Number 8, demonstrating quiet determination. There's something undeniably captivating about someone who carries a sense of quiet determination. It's not about making grand statements or shouting your ambitions from the rooftops. No, it's about that calm, steady energy that tells the world you're in this for the long haul, without needing to say a word. It's the way you move forward, step by step, unshaken by the noise around you. Quiet determination is like an unspoken promise to yourself. It's a commitment that doesn't require external validation. You don't need to broadcast your goals or seek approval, you just keep going, no matter what. There's an elegance in that kind of resolve, a sort of understated power that draws people in. It's magnetic because it's rare in a world where so many are quick to boast or seek attention. When you demonstrate quiet determination, you're essentially saying, "I've got this," but not in a loud or arrogant way. It's more like a gentle, unwavering confidence that others can sense, even if they don't fully understand it. They see it in the way you handle challenges, in the way you don't flinch in the face of obstacles. It's that steady hand, that calm gaze, that makes people take notice. What's fascinating about this kind of determination is that it doesn't rely on outward expressions. It's not about making a scene or proving a point. It's more about the consistent, almost rhythmic pursuit of your goals. You're like a river carving through rock, slow, deliberate, but undeniably effective. People might not see the full scope of what you're doing, but they can sense that something is happening, something important. And here's the kicker, that quiet determination is attractive because it signals a deep sense of self-assurance. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth or your capabilities. You just do the work, and let the results speak for themselves. There's a purity to that, a focus that's both rare and refreshing. In a world filled with noise, your silence speaks volumes. Stoicism, at its core, teaches us to focus on what we can control, to act with purpose, and to remain undisturbed by external factors. Quiet determination is a perfect embodiment of this philosophy. It's about knowing what you want and moving towards it with a kind of serene intensity. You don't need to rush or force things. You just keep going, one step at a time, confident that you'll get there eventually. People are drawn to that kind of energy. They see someone who isn't easily swayed, who doesn't crumble under pressure. They see someone who knows where they're going and is committed to getting there, no matter how long it takes. It's a strength that doesn't need to be flaunted, because it's evident in every action, in every decision. In demonstrating quiet determination, you're not just working towards your own goals, you're also setting an example. Others notice how you handle yourself, how you remain focused and composed, and they find themselves inspired by it. They might not say it out loud, but they're watching, and they're learning. And that's where the real power lies. So, embrace that quiet determination. Let it guide you, steady and sure, towards whatever it is you're striving for. You don't need to shout about it or make a big deal out of it. Just keep moving forward, one deliberate step at a time, and let your actions speak for themselves. In that silence, you'll find a strength that's not only attractive but also deeply empowering. Number 9. Practicing negative visualization. Negative visualization sounds a bit grim at first, doesn't it? But there's a hidden power in this Stoic practice that can actually make you more attractive in a way that's subtle yet profound. It's not about dwelling on worst-case scenarios or getting lost in a spiral of worry. Instead, it's about mentally preparing yourself for the ups and downs of life, so when challenges do arise, you handle them with a calmness that others can't help but notice. Let's break it down. Practicing negative visualization is like giving yourself a mental dress rehearsal for life's inevitable curveballs. You imagine things going wrong, not because you want them to, but because it helps you appreciate what you have and stay grounded. It's like keeping your mind in the game, ready for whatever comes your way. And when you do this, you start to carry yourself differently. There's a quiet confidence in knowing that you're prepared, that you've already faced these possibilities in your mind. This kind of mental fortitude is magnetic because it's rare. People are drawn to someone who isn't easily rattled, who seems to have a steady hand on the wheel, no matter the storm. This practice also makes you more present. When you take a moment to consider that things could change or be lost, you begin to value the here and now in a way that's deeper and more genuine. That appreciation shows up in how you interact with others, in the way you savor the moment, in the quiet gratitude that lingers in your presence. It's an energy that others can feel, even if they can't quite put their finger on why you seem different. But it's not just about being prepared, it's about the perspective you gain. When you regularly consider that life's comforts and conveniences might not be permanent, you start to see the world in a more balanced way. You're less likely to get caught up in the trivial stuff. You stop sweating the small things because, in the grand scheme of things, they don't really matter. That kind of perspective is refreshing. It's attractive because it suggests a maturity, a wisdom, that others find both comforting and intriguing. And then there's the resilience that comes from negative visualization. By contemplating potential difficulties, you're essentially building mental muscle. You're training your mind to remain calm and focused, even when things don't go as planned. This resilience is something people pick up on. It's not loud or flashy, but it's there, in the way you navigate through challenges with a sense of calm assurance. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to be advertised because it's obvious in how you carry yourself. So, negative visualization isn't about pessimism, it's about realism. It's about understanding that life is full of uncertainties and being okay with that. When you practice this regularly, you're not just preparing yourself for what might go wrong, you're also cultivating an inner strength and peace that others can't help but find attractive. It's a quiet kind of confidence, one that doesn't need to boast or make a show. It just is, and it's incredibly appealing. In a world where so many are focused on the positive, on chasing happiness at all costs, there's something grounding and reassuring about someone who embraces the full spectrum of life's experiences, both good and bad. Practicing negative visualization helps you become that person, the one who is steady, calm, and deeply aware. And that, in itself, is a powerful kind of attractiveness. Number 10. Maintaining focused attention in conversations. In a world where distractions are just a click away, maintaining focused attention in conversations can be like a breath of fresh air. It's not just about being present physically, it's about being there mentally, too. Really being there. When you give someone your undivided attention, you're telling them, without words, you matter. What you're saying matters. And that's incredibly attractive. It's easy to get lost in your thoughts during a conversation, to let your mind wander off to that never-ending to-do list or that email you forgot to send. But when you consciously decide to be fully present, to really tune into what the other person is saying, you create a connection that goes beyond the surface. It's like a silent agreement that this moment, this exchange, is worth your time and energy. And here's the thing, people notice. They can feel it when you're truly listening, not just waiting for your turn to speak. It's in the way you make eye contact, in the slight nods, in the pauses that show you're taking in what they're saying. This kind of focused attention is rare, and it's powerful. It makes others feel valued, understood, and that's something people are drawn to, almost instinctively. But there's more to it than just making someone else feel good. When you maintain focused attention in conversations, you're also honing your own mind. You're practicing the Stoic art of mindfulness, of being in the here and now. This kind of mental discipline doesn't just benefit your conversations, it spills over into every aspect of your life. You become more aware, more in tune with what's happening around you, and that awareness? It's a game changer. Imagine carrying that sense of presence into every conversation you have. No more half-listening, no more getting lost in your thoughts. Just pure, focused attention. It changes the dynamic, makes interactions more meaningful. It's like turning up the volume on life, making everything just a little bit richer, a little bit deeper. And the best part? You don't need to say much. In fact, sometimes the less you say, the better. By focusing on what the other person is saying, by really listening, you can respond more thoughtfully, more meaningfully. It's not about filling the silence with words, it's about letting the silence work for you. Letting it create a space where genuine connection can happen. When you think about it, maintaining focused attention in conversations is like giving a gift. It's not wrapped in flashy paper or topped with a bow, but it's something that people appreciate, often more than they realize. It's a sign of respect, of genuine interest, and it's something that sticks with people long after the conversation is over. So, next time you find yourself in a conversation, try this: put away the distractions, clear your mind, and just be there. Fully. Listen with your whole being, not just your ears. Let the other person feel that they have your complete attention, that, for this moment, nothing else matters. In doing so, you'll find that not only do your conversations become more meaningful, but you also become someone who others want to talk to, someone who others are naturally drawn to. And that, in the quietest way possible, makes you undeniably attractive. Number 11. Cultivating inner dialogue with virtue. Cultivating an inner dialogue with virtue, now that's a habit that's often overlooked but carries a quiet power. It's like having a personal compass that helps you navigate life's complexities with grace and integrity. But here's the thing, it's not about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about engaging in an ongoing conversation with yourself, one where you constantly check in on your values and align your actions accordingly. Think of it like this: every day, you're faced with choices, big and small. And each choice is an opportunity to either move closer to the person you want to be or drift further away. When you cultivate an inner dialogue rooted in virtue, you're essentially giving yourself a chance to pause, reflect, and choose wisely. It's that moment of reflection that can make all the difference. It's where you ask yourself, am I acting out of kindness? Am I being honest? Am I living up to the principles I believe in? Now, this might sound a bit lofty, but it's actually quite grounding. Engaging in this inner dialogue isn't about beating yourself up over mistakes or trying to be morally superior. It's more about staying connected to what truly matters to you. It's like having a conversation with a wise, inner friend who always has your best interests at heart. And when you consistently tune into this dialogue, you start to make decisions that resonate on a deeper level. It's not just about doing the right thing, it's about feeling aligned with your core values, and that alignment? It shows. People pick up on it, even if they can't quite articulate why. There's a certain calmness, a steadiness that comes from knowing you're acting in accordance with your principles. It's a kind of inner peace that radiates outward, making you more attractive in a way that's subtle yet undeniable. You're not trying to impress anyone, you're simply living in a way that feels true to who you are, and that authenticity is magnetic. But let's not pretend it's always easy. Sometimes, that inner dialogue can be challenging, especially when life throws curveballs your way. It's in those moments that this habit really shines. Instead of reacting impulsively or getting caught up in the chaos, you take a breath and consult that inner voice. You remind yourself of what you stand for, and you let that guide your actions. It's a practice, one that requires patience and persistence, but over time, it becomes second nature. And here's the beautiful part: this inner dialogue with virtue isn't something you need to announce or broadcast. It's a private, personal practice that quietly shapes who you are and how you move through the world. It's the kind of thing that doesn't need validation from others because it's rooted in something much deeper, your own sense of self-worth and integrity. So, as you go about your day, consider taking a moment to check in with yourself. Engage in that inner dialogue. Ask yourself if you're living up to the values that matter most to you. And when you do, you'll find that not only do you feel more centered and confident, but you also become someone who others are naturally drawn to. It's a quiet, steady kind of attractiveness, one that's built from the inside out. And in a world full of noise, that's something truly worth cultivating. Number 12, maintaining a balanced lifestyle. Maintaining a balanced lifestyle isn't just about keeping your calendar in check or making sure you get enough sleep, though those things certainly help. It's more like crafting a harmonious symphony out of the many pieces of your life. Each element, whether it's work, rest, relationships, or personal growth, plays its part in creating something that feels whole and fulfilling. It's not about perfection, it's about flow. It's about knowing when to push forward and when to pull back, when to be active and when to just be. This balance, when truly embraced, has a magnetic quality. It's as if people can sense that you've figured out something they're still trying to grasp. You're not running yourself ragged, nor are you slacking off. You've found this rhythm, a cadence to your days that feels right, not too fast, not too slow. And that's incredibly attractive. It's not just about what you do, it's how you do it. With a sense of ease, a kind of effortless grace that comes from knowing your limits and respecting them. What's fascinating is that this balanced approach often goes unnoticed until someone steps back and takes in the full picture of your life. It's like a well-tuned instrument that doesn't stand out for any one note but rather for the overall sound it creates. People might not immediately point to your balanced lifestyle as the reason they're drawn to you, but it's there, working its quiet magic in the background. It shows in how you handle stress, how you approach challenges, and even in how you interact with others. In silence, this balance becomes even more powerful. You're not the one bragging about how well you've got it all together. You don't need to. Your actions, your presence, do the talking for you. There's a kind of quiet confidence that comes from living a life that's in sync with your values, your needs, and your aspirations. It's like you've found your own personal rhythm, and it's steady, consistent, and unshakable. But here's the thing, balance doesn't mean everything is always perfectly aligned. Life is dynamic, always shifting, and so are you. What makes balance attractive is your ability to adapt, to adjust the sails when the wind changes direction. It's about being flexible, knowing when to lean into one area of your life and when to ease off. This adaptability, this fluidity, is what keeps you grounded, no matter what comes your way. And let's not forget the peace that comes with balance. When you're not constantly running from one extreme to the other, you find a sense of calm, a kind of inner tranquility that's hard to shake. People notice this. They might not be able to put their finger on it, but they can feel it, a sort of quiet strength that comes from knowing you're living in alignment with yourself. It's not about having it all figured out, but rather about being okay with where you are and where you're going. In the end, maintaining a balanced lifestyle isn't about achieving some static state of perfection. It's about the ongoing dance between all the different aspects of your life. It's about finding harmony in the midst of chaos, about knowing when to push forward and when to pull back. And when you live like this, in tune with your own rhythm, it shows. People are naturally drawn to the ease and grace with which you navigate life. They see in you a model of what it means to live fully, yet mindfully. And that, in itself, is profoundly attractive. So, keep striving for balance, not as a destination but as a way of being. Let it be the foundation of your life, the quiet strength that others admire, even if they can't quite name it. Number 13, living with purpose. Living with purpose, it sounds lofty, almost like something you'd find stitched on a pillow or framed on a wall. But when you strip away the cliches, living with purpose is about something much deeper, something that resonates within you, even if you never speak it aloud. It's about having a compass, a guiding star that quietly informs the choices you make, the paths you take. And when you move through life with that sense of direction, people notice. Not because you're shouting about it from the rooftops, but because it subtly seeps into everything you do. Purpose doesn't need to be grand or world-changing. It just needs to be yours. It's that underlying why that keeps you going, even when the going gets tough. It's the reason behind your actions, the motivation that keeps you aligned with what matters most to you. And when you live with this kind of intentionality, it creates a kind of aura around you. There's a quiet magnetism in knowing where you're headed, even if the road isn't always clear. What's intriguing about purpose is how it transforms the mundane into something meaningful. When you have a sense of purpose, even the smallest tasks take on a new significance. You're not just going through the motions, you're moving with intention. This sense of purpose brings a kind of energy, a vibrancy, that's hard to ignore. It's not flashy or over the top, it's steady, consistent, and undeniably compelling. In silence, your purpose becomes even more pronounced. You're not out there broadcasting your goals or trying to convince others of your direction. You don't have to. Your actions, your focus, speak for themselves. There's a kind of power in that. People are drawn to those who move with purpose because it suggests a certain depth, a richness of character that isn't easily swayed by external forces. You know what you're about, and that's attractive. Living with purpose also brings a sense of fulfillment that's palpable. When you're aligned with your purpose, you carry yourself differently. There's a calm confidence, a sense of peace that comes from knowing you're on the right path for you. It's not about having all the answers or achieving some final destination. It's about the journey, the process of continually aligning your actions with your values. And in that process, there's growth, there's evolution, and there's an undeniable allure. But let's be real, living with purpose isn't always easy. It requires reflection, self-awareness, and sometimes, making tough decisions. It's about saying no to what doesn't serve you, even when it's tempting, and saying yes to the things that might push you out of your comfort zone. This kind of intentional living takes courage, but it also brings a deep sense of satisfaction. It's like walking through life with a sense of clarity, even when the world around you is chaotic. And here's the thing, when you live with purpose, it's contagious. People can't help but be inspired by someone who knows what they want and isn't afraid to pursue it. It's not about being rigid or inflexible, it's about being committed to something that truly matters to you. That kind of commitment, that kind of dedication, is rare and incredibly attractive. So, living with purpose isn't about making grand declarations or having everything figured out. It's about quietly, confidently aligning your life with what's meaningful to you. It's about moving through the world with intention, with a sense of direction that doesn't need validation. And when you live this way, others can't help but be drawn to you, not because of what you say, but because of how you live. Number 14, embracing minimalism. Embracing minimalism, now that's a concept that's often misunderstood. It's not about stripping your life down to the bare bones or living with as little as possible. Instead, it's about making space for what truly matters. It's the art of clearing out the clutter, both physically and mentally, so you can focus on what really adds value to your life. And when you embrace minimalism, it creates a certain allure, a quiet kind of attraction that doesn't shout but whispers with intent. Minimalism is about intentionality. It's choosing what you keep in your life with a sense of purpose. This could be the objects you surround yourself with, the commitments you take on, or even the thoughts you entertain. When you start to cut away the excess, you're left with what's essential, what truly resonates with you. And there's something deeply attractive about a person who knows what they want, who isn't weighed down by unnecessary baggage. It's like they move through life with a lightness, a clarity that others can't help but notice. What's interesting is that minimalism isn't just about things. It's about mindset. It's about simplifying your mental landscape so you can focus on what's important. This might mean letting go of old habits, outdated beliefs, or even toxic relationships. When you clear out the mental clutter, you make room for growth, for new perspectives, for peace. And this inner simplicity has a way of reflecting outward. People can sense when you're not bogged down by the noise of the world, and that kind of presence is magnetic. In silence, minimalism becomes even more powerful. You're not flaunting your simplicity, you're living it. There's no need to announce that you've embraced a minimalist lifestyle because it shows. It shows in how you carry yourself, in the choices you make, and in the energy you bring into a room. There's a calmness, a focus that comes from not being distracted by the unnecessary. And that calmness? It's contagious. Others can't help but feel drawn to the peace you exude. But minimalism isn't about deprivation. It's not about denying yourself joy or comfort. It's about being discerning, about knowing what truly brings you joy and focusing on that. It's about quality over quantity. When you choose to live with less, you often find that what you do have is richer, more meaningful. And that sense of contentment, of satisfaction with what you have, is incredibly attractive. It's like you've tapped into a secret that others are still searching for. And let's be real, there's something liberating about letting go of what doesn't serve you. When you're not constantly chasing after the next thing or trying to keep up with the latest trends, you free up so much energy. Energy that can be spent on what truly matters to you. This freedom, this lightness, is something people notice. They see it in the way you move, in the way you live, and it draws them in. So, embracing minimalism isn't about having less for the sake of it. It's about making room for what truly matters, for what adds value to your life. It's about living with intention, with purpose, and with a sense of clarity that others can't help but find attractive. In a world that's often chaotic and cluttered, this kind of simplicity stands out. It speaks volumes without saying a word. It's a quiet confidence, a deep contentment, that doesn't need to be broadcasted. And in that silence, you find a strength and an allure that's undeniably compelling. Minimalism, then, is more than just a lifestyle choice. It's a way of being, a way of moving through the world with grace, with purpose, and with a focus on what truly matters. And when you live like that, in tune with what's essential, others can't help but be drawn to you, not because of what you have, but because of what you've chosen to let go. Number 15. Practicing self-discipline. Practicing self-discipline is like having a superpower that doesn't need to be flashy to be effective. It's that quiet resolve, the inner strength that keeps you on track when distractions are pulling at you from every direction. It's about making choices that align with your goals, even when the easier path is tempting you. And when you master this, it's incredibly attractive, not in a loud, look-at-me way, but in a subtle, commanding kind of way that others can't help but respect. Self-discipline isn't about being rigid or denying yourself pleasures. It's more about finding balance, about knowing when to indulge and when to hold back. It's about setting boundaries for yourself and sticking to them, not because you have to, but because you choose to. This kind of control, this ability to steer your own course, is something people notice, even if they don't say it out loud. There's an unspoken admiration for someone who can keep their word, especially to themselves. In silence, self-discipline becomes even more powerful. You're not out there broadcasting your sacrifices or boasting about your willpower. You're simply living it, day in and day out. There's a certain mystique to that, a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can rely on yourself. Others might not see the work you're putting in, the small choices you make every day to stay on course, but they feel the energy you bring because of it. It's like an unshakable foundation that everything else is built upon. What's fascinating about self-discipline is how it creates a ripple effect in your life. When you practice it in one area, it often spills over into others. You become more focused, more determined, and this sense of purpose becomes evident in everything you do. People can sense it, they see it in how you carry yourself, in how you approach challenges. There's a calmness, a steadiness that's incredibly appealing. It's not about being perfect or never slipping up, it's about getting back on track without making a fuss about it. And here's the thing, self-discipline isn't just about big, grand gestures. It's in the small, everyday decisions. It's choosing to get up early to work on your goals, even when the bed is calling your name. It's about saying no to that extra helping, not because you have to, but because you've decided that something else is more important. These little acts of discipline add up, and over time, they shape you into someone who is dependable, consistent, and strong. But let's be real, self-discipline isn't always easy. There are moments of struggle, moments when you question why you're even bothering. And that's okay. What matters is that you keep going, that you keep choosing discipline over ease, even when it's hard. This resilience, this refusal to give up on yourself, is what makes self-discipline so attractive. It's a kind of inner fire, a determination that others can't help but admire, even if they don't fully understand it. In the end, practicing self-discipline is about more than just achieving your goals. It's about becoming the kind of person who can set their sights on something and follow through, no matter what. It's about building trust in yourself, about knowing that you have the strength to do what needs to be done, even when no one is watching. And when you live with that kind of integrity, that kind of quiet commitment to yourself, it shows. It shows in how you move through the world, in the decisions you make, and in the respect you command, all without saying a word. Self-discipline, then, is a quiet force. It's not about the grand displays of willpower but about the everyday choices that shape who you are. And when you master this, others will be drawn to you, not because of what you say, but because of the unspoken strength that your actions reveal. And there you have it, 15 powerful habits that can elevate your presence and make you more attractive in silence, rooted in the timeless principles of Stoicism. Remember, true attractiveness isn't about the loud, flashy displays but the quiet, steadfast character that speaks volumes without saying a word. If you found value in these insights, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content on living a stoic and meaningful life. Share this video with someone who might benefit from embracing these silent yet profound habits. And as always, stay grounded, stay resilient, and keep cultivating that inner strength. Thanks for watching, and until next time, embrace the power of silence.